Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Columbus This Week with Trevor and Eric, and we have a jam-packed episode for you guys today. We have some cool events coming up, like we almost always do, and then we got some pretty cool stories. Everything from the right to repair your electronics to the governor doing his job, actually shilling for the state at a conference. Although he kind of looked a little bit inept doing that, which I think was funny, but. So we got that going on. We have some cool. So we have Trevor. We have the Russian Times article / Twitter thing that's going to be fun to talk about for our feature.
Oh, did Russia Times do something interesting?
Oh, they did. So we have that going on. Uber launched a credit card. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and there might be changes to your 401k plan. And in that case, I think people should be rioting in the streets. So. Without further ado, Trevor, I know you don't give a crap about football at all, but last night OSU pulled off the comeback of like the mother of all comebacks and actually beat Penn State.
Is it a bigger comeback or not compared to like the Cavs winning?
Oh no, that was the actual mother of all comebacks. There will never the only other comeback that probably comes close was last year in the World Series in the Chicago whatever team, I think the Cubs or something. Cubs. Yeah, they beat the Indians, so they were down 3-1 in the series and they came back and won. But the Cavs, that was the most epic comeback in history probably. But this was a really good one.
So last year we had like the father and the mother of all comebacks. This is like the daughter of all comebacks.
it was pretty epic, and then like everybody rushed the field on campus and everything. So it was pretty big time.
So I went to get pizza yesterday, and I happened to see the score while I was in there waiting for my food.
Yeah.
And I was watching the game for like 5 minutes, and I mean it looked like OSU was just done for.
That's what everybody thought.
When I saw the score, it was like 20-35 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, GG OSU.
Yeah.
Columbus is about to be depressed for 2 weeks.
Yep. And then Urban Meyer probably performed some sort of dark satanic ritual and at halftime and pulled one out of his ass. So, so there's that. And then this past week, another pretty, well, we'll see. It's probably going to be a non-event, I think, but the Catalonian Parliament actually declared independence, and then the actual government of Spain said that we're going to dissolve all this and like throw you guys in jail. So
yeah, well, what they said is they're going to restore order,
right? Which reminds me, this is a good reason to have a Second Amendment, because if you want to have resistance against what you perceive as an oppressive government, it helps to have some guns, right?
But Eric, you can't. How are you going to kill people when they have drones and tanks?
Yeah, silly argument, but
I mean, I agree. It's like, it's really like people never learned any lessons from like,
I don't know, Iraq, Afghanistan, any other war ever.
I was gonna say one, like the Vietnam War, and then two, the entire modern history of the country of Afghanistan.
Yeah,
for such a little like geographically important country, Afghaniland is just like immune to people like holding it long term.
Yep. So there won't be much disagreement there. So so that's a couple cool teasers, I guess, of things that happened this week. So should I just jump into the events here?
Yep, please do.
Okay, so on November 2nd, 6 to 10 p.m. at COSI for $30, there's a comfort food festival. So, there's been a lot of food festivals going on lately, but this one I think is a little more cool than some of the other ones, because if you pay for the ticket, like you get all the samples and everything, but then you get like a free run of COSI.
So what you're saying, so comfort food festival though, so you're basically paying $30 to get fat, right?
Yeah, okay. But it's supposed to, it's going to be good food, right? So at least you know what you're getting into.
So I would say this is worth it if you like haven't gone to COSI recently, and then otherwise it's not.
Yeah, probably. All right, so that's coming up. Halloween is on the 31st, like the actual Halloween day.
Yeah, which means it'll be tomorrow by the time this goes out.
Yeah. And then there is, on the 31st again, is the Harvest Bloom at Franklin Park and Conservatory from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., which means most normal working hour people won't be able to go. So I think that's unfortunate time. But still would be kind of cool if you're, for some reason, taking that day off. And then there's another cool event, Politics and a Pint at Wolf's Ridge Brewery from 6 to 8 p.m. on November 1st. So they're going to have some of the some people from like it like NPR types, public radio hosts, and it's supposed to just be like a conversation, politics, and then have some beers. I would, if I was going to be in town that day, I think I would go. So I thought it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go to this if I can convince the girlfriend to go.
Nice. So that's coming up.
I don't know how easy of a thing that'll be.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
see.
let me know. So that's coming up, and then I just kind of happened upon what looked like a cool class. There's like an intro to photography class at Le Meridien in the Short North. It's $50. I don't know if that's worth it or not, but it's a 2-hour class, so you could do worse things with your money. So
You could also do better things with your money, though.
True. But maybe this will be the springboard into a hobby. So, and then one last thing that I think looks kind of cool. I'm going to start going to these once I'm able. But so at OSU on campus, and you can check out the link for like the actual location. On November 1st from 6:30 to 7:30, they have a science cafe. And so this one is, they're talking about one of the first like big cities, like life in one of the first big cities, and I can't pronounce the name, but it was a city in Turkey. So I think that sounds kind of cool. So maybe if you're looking for something interesting to do, that's
science cafes are great. You and I went to quite a few when we were at OU, right?
Yep.
At least I know I did.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, especially so it's open to the public, right? So it's almost like you get a free like 1-hour lecture. So
Yeah, but I bet they don't provide free coffee, so they are inferior to OU.
That's true. But what if, anyway, so it should be cool. I'm going to start going to these once I actually get some more free time. So that's, I guess, events coming up. There are a lot of new construction news, so I can just jump right into that really quick. The Downtown Commission approved the new White Castle headquarter building. So in case you didn't know, White Castle is like a Columbus like business.
Yeah, God bless.
So over on West Goodale Street, they're going to build this new, pretty huge corporate campus, and then they're going to, some of the other land on the, like, in that area that they own, they're going to, add some hotels and businesses and restaurants and all that stuff. And then there is a ton of construction going on over near University District and Wineland Park. So we took a bunch of pictures, more or less, from Columbus Underground, and we're going to post that here for your guys' convenience. If you haven't been to campus in a while or around that area, if you don't see like 15 cranes, then you're probably lost, I guess, because there's a boatload of construction going on down there. On the Near East Side, there's so there used to be this like affordable housing community called Poindexter Village, but as most affordable housing communities do, I think it pretty much failed. So they turned it into Legacy Point with an E at Poindexter, which is probably the most like
it's up there
gentrified kind of name I could possibly think of.
I was gonna say it's up there for like pretentiousness.
Yeah, but I am a little bit more excited about this because it looks like instead of just doing condo buildings, they actually tried to do townhomes and some stuff like that. So. I mean, that's kind of cool. It's right on the Near East Side. Like you can see, I think that's Grant Hospital or something. You can see right there. But so that's going on. Hot Chicken Takeover, your favorite restaurant, is opening they're opening a new location at Easton. So
wow, they've got 3 locations now.
Yeah.
So if you want bland, tasteless chicken, you now don't have to drive all the way up to Clintonville. You don't have to go to the middle of Columbus.
Yeah.
You can enjoy Hot Chicken Takeover while you're watching a car crash into
into Louis Vuitton store,
into one of the Easton storefronts.
Yeah,
this experience can be yours for the low price of like $8 for a piece of chicken.
Yeah, but I mean, if I'm good, at least it's a Columbus business. So, and then there are you were mentioning that there were like 6 new bakeries that are in Columbus.
Oh yeah, so there's a plan within the next year to open 6 new. I guess local bakeries, so not big chains.
That's cool. I'm happy about that.
Yep, more artisan bread. I'm sure you can buy avocado toast at least one of them.
Yeah, I have had avocado toast, like homemade. It's really good. So,
but is it like as artisanal as a artisan?
It's even more artisanal because I made it myself. So it's like super local.
But do you have like a baker's certificate? Have you been certified in?
No, see that's the thing. It's like I'm not even. I'm like unknown. so I don't even like have a certificate.
I see. So you're like fresh hidden talent. You're like the Leonardo da Vinci of avocado toast.
You could call me that.
Okay.
Okay. So moving on to Columbus / Ohio / community news. So there was I saw it on on local news, which I highly suggest you watch if you watch the news. Don't watch CNN because that's a huge waste of time.
Or do watch CNN so that you can watch how 25% of their content is them reading other people's Twitter comments.
Good point.
D's Nuts 69 would like to weigh in on the current tax reform discussion.
Yeah, they're so bad. But Governor Kasich was in California somewhere, probably in Silicon Valley, and so it was like some conference thing by or with Google as one of the attendees. So John Kasich's there, and he's like basically courting them to bring jobs to Ohio, and he's like, he did like a video thing, and he's like, well, we have Amazon here, and we have Facebook, and we have IBM, and we have a new data center. Like all we need is all we're missing is Google. And he just sounded like he didn't know what he was talking about. Like these data centers don't mean the company's here. It's like. So, it's not like when a company's here for me, it's when they actually employ software engineers or business people in an office. Like that's actually here.
I've got a question for you. Why the fuck did you give Kasich a southern drawl?
I don't know, because he sounded goofy. When like the whole thing, it just sounded like he sounded really enthusiastic. I mean, I applaud him for trying because I think that's a good idea. But I just want to say, like, having a data center doesn't mean they're here. So it's like if Amazon has like a logistics warehouse or a distribution center, they're not here. Like
their mind share's not here.
Right, which is what you want. You don't want the stupid distribution. I mean, they're not stupid, but so I guess I misspoke, but like you don't want the distribution center jobs. You don't want the data center jobs. You want the actual people making decisions and building software jobs.
That's a very upper middle class opinion you've got there.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't want those, but I'm saying in terms of like it's good to have them. Jobs are jobs. They're paying for people. But I'm saying when you're saying like, hey, like so-and-so's here, to me, they're not here in a more important way. Because, I mean, they have distribution centers in Kentucky and like they're all over the place. So it's not like anything special. So
hey, I hope you don't mind if I segue off this topic. But that's not the only thing Kasich made the news for today.
Okay.
Or sorry, this week. So this week, Kasich announced that he would like to be the candidate for young people.
Oh, great.
Because when I think of
well, he was the least crazy of all the Republicans, so.
But he didn't attract the most young attention of all the Republicans.
I mean, I would have voted for him over Clinton.
Well, no.
If he had been the nominee, or any of the other Republicans, for sure.
No, but on the like Republican side, young Republicans heavily favor Ted Cruz.
Yeah, I don't get that. He's just a big slime ball. That's what he looks like when I look at him. He just looks like just greasy slime ball guy.
Well,
I've been telling you that for at least months, if not over a year.
Ted, you know how people have been calling Ted Cruz the Zodiac Killer?
Yeah.
Well, on his Facebook after the Bernie Sanders debate, he posted like a what do you call it? Like one of the encrypted messages that the Zodiac Killer wrote with like no context.
That's funny.
So at least he's got a sense of humor about the fact that he's just not liked.
Yeah.
But so on Kasich trying to be like the candidate for the young people, I it's just such nonsense. Nobody's gonna buy it. Like,
yeah.
He doesn't come across as like appealing to young people at all.
Yeah. You know what the sucks about that though is because he's actually like pretty reasonable. I mean, he has some like I think kind of stupid nonsense around like abortion and all that stuff, but overall he's not like, you know, I mean, he's not crazy.
Well, the
right?
thing is, he's like I guess the most American politics centerish candidate that ran last year. That ran last year.
Right. So yeah. Anyway.
But I also don't think that like that sensible kind of like
we don't need sensible people in office.
Well, like I don't think that's going to appeal to like the young demographic who doesn't vote anyway.
Right.
Like that's not how you win that demographic. Barack Obama won that demographic.
True, he did.
Like if you want to win like 30-somethings,
you have to be like, I believe in hope, and yes, we can bomb more people.
Maybe his
Oh wait, Hillary was yes we can, wasn't it?
No, Barack Obama was yes we can.
Oh no, yeah, Hillary was I'm with her. That was so lame.
Let's just not even go off on that.
Okay, let's move on. So because we have so much stuff to talk about. Okay, so in a slight change of pace in terms of funny, I guess. Well, this might be kind of funny. So I saw news that there's going to be a new vinyl shop and recording studio. Maybe we should start recording there, and bar. So it's going to be called Craft and Vinyl, and it's going to open up, I think, this December near West Fifth Avenue. It's like somewhere close to Grandview. So one of the quotes from the article was, "People who love vinyl, like me, are probably the same people who love craft beer." Like, oh, you mean a bunch of hipsters?
I mean, one, that's a very pretentious thing to say.
Yeah.
And two, it's a very obviously true thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, the avocado toast eaters are the same people
Yeah.
who, enjoy vinyl and old cameras and fixie bikes.
Yeah.
We know who's being talked about.
Yeah. But I mean, so making fun of it though, I am in favor of it because it's at least, again, it's better than what people have been doing before, which was, it just be something stupid. So at least they're like, at least people are trying. So I'm cool with that.
I mean, on the other hand, this isn't not something stupid. This is definitely like a dumb thing. It's like there are 3 Spirit Rocks places in Columbus. I don't know why I know that, but there are like 3 like magical voodoo bullshit rocks places that exist in Columbus. Those are stupid stores.
Yeah.
You might think they're like cool that they exist because of the clientele they attract, but they're still dumb.
Yeah. Oh, well, we got to keep Columbus weird, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay,
go back to Austin. You and Amazon and the crew.
Amazon and crew, we're all going to head down there.
Go to Austin.
It'll be the Amazon Crew Stadium, and I'll be the #1 fan.
Wow.
So, and they'll serve avocado toast and Shinerbach or whatever.
We probably just like blew the audience's ears out.
Okay. All right. So, in change of pace once again. So, Trevor, tell me what your opinion is on this. So, on the and I guess this is kind of related to like the Poindexter Village avocado toast development. So, there's a new program on the Near East Side, and the program is they're providing a total of $200,000 to about 20 homes for people who currently live there to renovate those homes. What do you think?
Who's providing the money?
It is Fifth Third Bank, Ohio State, the United Way of Central Ohio, the Ohio Capital Corporation for Housing. So people, I mean, I don't know who's with the, what the breakdown is, like who's giving what money, but
Why are they providing this money?
so the idea is, so one of the issues I think that happens on, so like these areas, right, is you get houses that are in a really good location, could be in a great neighborhood, they just need a little bit of work. But what ends up happening is you have these other people come in, they buy the house, they flip it, they sell it for twice what they paid, or 3 times what they paid for it. But if the residents that actually live there, if they just had some disposable income, they could fix up the home themselves and then they could sell it, or they could fix up the home and like keep living there and make the overall neighborhood better and whatnot. So, yeah. So I mean, I think that sounds pretty cool.
I think it might be okay, but I personally, just being as paranoid, I guess, and untrusting as I am, I would be worried about their stipulations being tied to the money. Like, you have to hit this, and this requirement in order to get the money. And then hitting that ends up costing you, like, let's say $330,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get $200,000 and you're like, well, this sucks.
Yeah. So basically, residents interested can apply for repair assistance, which covers. So I think they're looking mostly on like the outside. So looking through the website, they had. It's probably gonna take me too long to find out, but yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But at the same time, of all the things to be paranoid about, this is probably lower on the list because the organizations involved don't typically have like predatory stipulations, right?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the
like
thing
United
is,
Way, it's like a pretty legit organization.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm just always suspicious of people who want to give me large amounts of money for free.
Yeah, well, they're not giving you any money.
Well,
you don't get any.
You
get no money.
Well, somebody's being given money. Like
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, you should always be suspicious of somebody who wants somebody who wants to give you anything for free.
I definitely agree with that, but people do have good motivations too.
Sometimes.
So, well, for example, the Ohio Housing Financial Agency. I mean, another thing is like when you know what their motivations are, right? So when I think we've talked about that program before, but if you've graduated from college in the last 48 months, the state of Ohio, if you're in a certain income bracket, will pay like some percentage of your down payment, right? So with that, like, there's a stipulation is if you sell the house within 5 years, you have to pay a diminishing amount back. But like, that's, to me, I mean, it's clear what that intention is. They want to keep college graduates here and encourage them to afford a home, even though most can't because they're paying too much in rent. But like, to me, it's like you're getting free money, but at least you know what the incentive is, right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
Okay. So I think that's kind of cool. There's another controversial type story that came out. The Columbus Metropolitan Library decided that they are going to restrict food and limit the size of bags inside the library to deter people from camping. And I think what they mean by that is discourage homeless people from hanging out in the library for too long.
Yeah, that's definitely what they mean.
So visitors will be limited to 3 bags, and I'm doing air quotes here: bags, backpacks, boxes, carts, or wheeled conveyances, not to exceed 32 by 18 by 15 inches, individually or collective, and no hot food except snack items, which are bought in the library. And one of the quotes from a lady who didn't want to give her name because she feared retaliation, I guess like the library police are going to come get her, was, "I'm getting the vibe from security that there's just some kind of war going on with the homeless." Look, I have a lot of sympathy for the homeless, but I do not want some homeless person with a big, shopping cart full of like rotten banana peels or whatever they have, like rolling around the library. It makes it crappy for everybody. So get out of the library.
Yeah, I mean it's a problem that has to be solved, but you can't. So people do this thing where, I guess, in wanting to, out of some vague desire to want to help the homeless, they want people to not ever take punitive action against the homeless when it's harming businesses or organizations.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the correct way to go about it. If you really want to help the homeless, you could do it. Like what my family did when we were growing up, where my mom would like actually house homeless women in our house.
Yeah.
So if you want to help the homeless, you could do that, but like you're not helping anybody really by trying to restrict what a business can do. I guess to sort of deal with the problem of having a bunch of homeless people around, because it does make business worse.
Yeah, it really does. Like I'm not like scared, but I mean, it's annoying. Like if I'm walking around, if I go outside, like, they do it like the Chipotle, like on the south side, the one that's like right there. Like every time I walk, and I very rarely go there, but every time I like walk by there, or if I'm like going to maybe go grab lunch or something, for some reason, there's always a homeless person out there. They're always bugging me for money or something. And it's like I never give them any money, but it just makes me like I just don't want them there like bugging me. It's not that like it's just the bugging part that bothers me.
Well, the thing I think is really the sort of shit. Let me gather my words. I'm probably going to cut this anyways.
Yeah.
So I think the end takeaway, the thing you can't get around, is that everybody knows that it hurts. I mean, it hurts businesses to have homeless people hanging around, because people simply don't want to go places where there's a bunch of homeless people hanging around, because for the most part,
you can count me in there.
People don't want to interact with the homeless, so it's going to hurt business.
Yeah.
And I think some people sort of, I think what actually happens is people want, in defending the homeless, they want to establish places where the homeless people can hang out, which are places where they don't want to go. Yeah. Or places where they don't go. Like this woman who, quote unquote, fears retaliation. How often do you think she actually goes to the library?
Yeah. I mean, what the heck? Like, it's like, I mean, are the homeless people like reading the news and they're like, Susie over there, like, I saw her in the library, like, she doesn't want me there, I'm going to go get her. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. But I don't know.
I mean,
I guess my whole take on it is, I mean, the homelessness is a real problem, but the things people try to do to alleviate or sort of help the plight of the homeless, a lot of it's really fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess. And I actually want. So have you like gone to the library recently, or been to like the downtown one or anything, like the main library?
Rise of the Rest was held there.
Oh yeah, that's right. I love that building. It's great.
It's a nice building, yeah. there are a ton of like children there for after school stuff who like engage in shenanigans. So
Yeah.
expect that at certain times of the day.
Yeah.
Because like when I was walking out, like library security had to break up some argument going on between kids where they were slapping or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I like the building.
Yeah. Well, the building's really nice. So I mean, libraries are good, and I think they will be more good with fewer or zero homeless people in them.
Oh, so here's something you and I might disagree on.
Okay.
I think libraries are a great example of one of the building types that works really, really well in suburbs.
Versus, like, are you saying they work well in suburbs, but they don't work well in an urban environment? Or
I'm
they
saying,
work well in both,
I'm
or?
saying, I think they work. I think they work well and sort of provide community in both, but I think they're actually more effective in suburbs.
I mean, I guess I don't really have an opinion on that. The thing I don't like, though, is that people have to get in a car and drive to the library, like, let's say 15 minutes or something, and then it's like there's some of their trip is like for a paper. It's just really inefficient. So I don't
know if that's true. I feel like there are enough libraries, at least in Columbus, that.
But even a 5-minute drive's too much.
Well,
like that's my only.
I mean,
my big problem with it, I guess.
I would say most of them are probably within a 20-minute walk. Like the library.
Yeah, but how many people actually walk to the library?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's I guess my only rebuttal is like I just feel like, well, let me get in my big car or small car even and drive to the library and then park in this parking space and go in and like get a book and then get back in my car. Environmentally it's really inefficient. So I just don't like that, but I agree with the community stuff.
This library that's near us, it's a pretty big library. It's really nice. And I'd say,
Columbus has like the best libraries in the country. Yeah, I don't know if you knew that, but in terms of like actual library systems, like we have one of the best in the whole country. Yeah.
But I would be willing to bet less than half the people drive to that library.
I mean, that's good. I'm just saying the people that do.
Yeah.
I just don't like that.
I think the co-location to like schools helps that a lot.
Yeah.
Because then kids can just like walk to the library after school or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I would even go. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is just the drive to drop off a book or drive to like pick up a book. But everything else about it, I'm perfectly fine with them. Libraries in any area, because I think, as you mentioned, bring community together. They have events. It's a good place for. I mean, it's like like some people feel like a church is like a safe space. And to me, I feel like the library is like the science equivalent of that, like the science safe space.
I see.
Even though, I mean, I'm not saying that in detriment to religion, I guess. I'm just saying it's like if you don't want to go to the church, it's like another, it's like a not religiously affiliated safe space.
It's a community space.
Yeah.
I don't know if I call it a safe space. I think that term has a more specific meaning.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I say it, I mean it's a place where it's like safe. Like, you're going to get help. People are nice. It's not.
What do you say?
Yeah. Okay, so
what do we
beat
got next?
libraries to death. You had a story or a follow up for the wind turbine story that we talked about.
Oh yeah, so we mentioned
was it like the second episode or something?
Yeah, a couple months ago.
A few million years ago, I think.
That Marion County is, or Whirlpool in particular in Marion County, is building a ton of wind turbines to sort of help replace electrical power. And so they're going online this week.
Cool.
At the end of the week.
Big fan of that.
They should be powering about 20% of the Whirlpool big
the factory or whatever?
Yeah, the big plant they have here. We can't say factory anymore, Eric. We have to say plant. It's much more environmental.
Seriously?
No,
is that a thing now?
Yeah.
So if you call something a factory, it's like offensive?
That's been a thing for like over a decade.
No, I'm calling it a factory now. I'm actually going to make a point to call those things factories. Because like if you go to like, okay, so if you go to like an economics class, they call them factories or facilities.
Yeah,
like, I mean, if that like grinds your gears, then I would love to meet you. So send me an email, like a fan email. I will meet you anywhere, and we'll have a lot of fun. So.
My grandmother was telling me about this. It had to be like a decade ago that they stopped calling them factories and started calling them plants because I guess
so unbelievably stupid.
It sounds nicer or something.
I mean, I don't think it sounds nicer at all. I think plant's like unless you're actually talking about plants, I think it sounds it's a lame word.
All right.
I really think it is. I mean, it sounds, oh, let's go to the plant. Like, no, let's go to the factory or like the manufacturing facility or like
So,
the job
anyways,
site.
it's one of the bigger factories in Ohio, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be 20% electric. So that's cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. Can't complain. I mean, 100% electric's better, but we'll take 20 where we can get it.
All right. What else we got, Eric?
All right, so so recall, did we talk about the California HIV not
No, we haven't.
so we didn't talk about the California issue
No.
at all in a prior
So-
podcast?
Yeah, no, we
Okay.
haven't. So you want me to give a rundown?
Yeah.
All right, so California, there's a senator in California currently trying to pass a bill that would completely decriminalize the act of having sex with somebody when you know
Including unprotected sex, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, having unprotected sex with somebody or when you know you have HIV and you don't disclose it to them.
Yeah.
Now, the proposed reason for this law is that it's if you make knowing that you have HIV criminal, nobody is going to get tested. That's the logic behind the bill.
Okay, so I think that's some of the most faulty reasoning I could possibly imagine, but go ahead.
So there's actually a similar ongoing court case that's taking place in Ohio. Or sorry, not ongoing. There was an ongoing court case in Ohio that was running along similar lines. Somebody had been charged with a misdemeanor and put in jail because they knowingly had sex with somebody when they had HIV.
I think it shouldn't even be a misdemeanor. Like, you should go to prison for a long time for that. Because, like, if you give somebody else HIV, you are so fucking up their life. I mean, it's like, why don't you cut somebody's arm off? I mean, to me, that's equivalent right there. Like, giving somebody HIV and just, like, hacking their arm off, those are equivalent crimes.
Well, regardless, they sued the state because they didn't think it should be a misdemeanor, and Ohio courts.
I wish our viewers could see, like, how far back my eyes just rolled in my head. Like, I'm looking at my brain right now.
So Ohio courts have ruled that have upheld that Ohio can treat knowingly infecting somebody with HIV as a misdemeanor. So
furthermore, it's the actual Ohio HIV assault law. They challenged it and said that it violates free speech. Jesus Christ! But right now, I guess breaking the law is considered a felony assault with a possible prison sentence of up to 8 years. I think it should be more. It should be like 16 to 20 years, but at least it's a felony. It's like felony assault. So.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
I that's why I was like, I wanted to go look at what the actual law is, because when you said it was a misdemeanor, I was like, man, like, to me that sounds, like, seriously, like, that's the equivalent of, like, maiming somebody, because you don't, right now there's no cure. Like, you have to do all this stuff, like, it can kill you.
Well, this isn't going to make you very happy.
Okay.
The reason I guess I got confused is because it is a misdemeanor in California.
Oh, jeez.
So they're trying to get it completely decriminalized. Right now, it's a misdemeanor.
Ugh, that's ridiculous.
So I just sort of wanted to have a little back and forth on how you feel about the differences between, I guess, how this is viewed in California and how it's viewed here.
Yeah, so it's hard to, so I guess without sounding like I'm just generalizing people, because I'm about to, I think that's one of the stark contrasts between the politics in a state like California and something like Ohio, or one of the other 34 other states who have a similar law in the books, which treats HIV as like an assault. Like, I just can't fathom why you would. I mean, I don't understand how you could fathom repealing legislation that makes it not a criminal act. Like, it's like you're knowingly infecting somebody with a disease that could kill them, and maybe the best case only shortens their life and makes it kind of shitty because they have to go to the hospital and get treated and spend a whole bunch of money. Like, I just, like, Trevor, I don't even know what to think, because it's so alien to me because it's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree, but like, the argument is literally that no one is going to go get tested if you make getting tested a crime, quote unquote.
But what evidence do they have for that? Do people not get tested now?
I don't know what evidence they have, I guess. I mean, it's just one of those things where they're making an assumption.
Yeah.
I obviously think it's bad. But But I mean, I don't know. How do you argue against something like that?
Yeah, I mean it's simply unreasonable. Like there's no other way there's nothing else to say about it. I mean, like, let's just move on to the next topic because it's just completely insane. Like, if you have HIV and then you have sex with somebody and you don't tell them that you have HIV and then you give them HIV, like, you should go to jail forever because you're an idiot. And because, I mean, it's such a jerk thing to do. It's criminal. It's assault. Like, you're assaulting the other person's body. That's what you're doing with it. That is 100% assault. No questions asked.
So if you've learned one thing from this, I think it's that be careful who you have sex with in California.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, you might. Yeah. Jesus. Okay. Yeah. So I don't have any. I'm not worried about that because I'm in a monogamous relationship. But if you're not, be careful because somebody might give you AIDS in California, and then I guess you're just screwed. Yeah. Whatever. Oh, I'm so mad about that. It's so stupid. Okay.
It's good to see you riled up, Eric.
Yeah.
You
as though I'm not in every episode.
You keep it in too much, I feel like.
Okay. And then last but not least for Columbus-centered or Ohio-centered things, just a reminder for people to go out and vote next week.
Yep.
Or November 7th is the voting day, I think.
Yeah, the big issue on the table, as we've talked about before, is issue 2,
Yep.
which
Please read about the issue. Please look at who is spending money on either side, and please do your due diligence before you vote.
Yeah, I had to inform a couple of people as to what the bill actually entailed because it was trending on. So it was trending on Twitter.
Yeah,
this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. By the way, it was trending on Twitter.
Dumber than this HIV story, or is it? It's probably. It's hard to top that. So I'll give you a pass.
So here. It's technologically dumber. So issue 2 was trending. But almost none of the trending quotes were about the bill issue 2 because...
Was it just about, like, watch out for California guy, Michael... He probably has AIDS, so...
Well, no, they
he's coming to infect us all.
They selected, like, issue and then, like, 2. But people say, issue 2 a lot. Like, any comic book is like, hey, issue 2 is coming. Yeah.
So it was, like, X-Men and then, like, voting in Ohio?
Yeah, like 20% of the stuff was Ohio-related. But, sorry, okay. I should... Back to the recap of the bill. It's the bill where for Medicare, Medicaid, etc., Ohio would be required to price match with the vet.
Yeah,
and
the Veterans Administration, the VA.
Yeah, the vet. Yeah, sorry, the VA. So essentially, the downstream effects would basically be that other states are subsidizing Ohio's drug costs until they implement a similar bill. So this is...
However, I do think it will raise prices for if you have, like, private insurance. Like, if you have insurance through your employer, it will raise the price of that insurance. But state-funded or state, Medicaid or what have you, they were all...
So basically, everyone who's getting government-provided health care, they benefit, and then everyone who isn't, including everyone out of Ohio, basically foots the bill for that.
Yeah.
And so the results of this are going to be really interesting because if this bill passes, I guarantee it's going to force other states to adopt it.
Because otherwise, why would you want to subsidize?
Yeah, nobody wants to subsidize Ohio.
Yeah. And
but they should because we're the best.
Yeah, even though my healthcare costs will go up, I am planning on voting yes for this bill because at the end of the day, I think the drug companies do not have my interests at heart. But so anything that they're spending a lot of money on to defeat, I should probably vote for it. So that's my rationale. even though it's going to raise my prescription, drug. Well, I don't have any prescription drug costs actually, but it'll raise my insurance costs probably. So
your rationale is like fuck those guys.
Yeah, more or less.
That's reasonable. Yeah. I'm probably going to vote no just because I don't think it's a good idea to sort of twist other states' arms into like I don't like bills that require like cancerous adoption like this.
Yeah. Well, they don't have to, so.
I mean,
okay. No, I get it. Yeah. Just at the end of the day, people need to go out and vote. And yeah.
Oh yeah, and also
there's other
there's actual politicians,
right? People running for office and stuff. So get out and vote. I mean, so
the big issue is definitely too though.
So kind of related. So I think, like last this year, I guess, or like last year with the election and everything, everybody gets kind of, gung ho on like national politics, and then they forget to like actually vote for local politics. I have a maybe this is a news flash. I don't know if it is. I don't know if it's like breaking news or something. But voting for your local politicians is like infinitely more important than voting for, the president. The reason for that is, as you've seen, most things in Washington are pretty either don't affect you, or their effect is so dispersed that you don't really feel it, or it's so everything's so gridlocked that nothing really gets done. But your mayor, your city council, those people, they take out your trash, they fix your roads, they directly, decide what your property taxes are. They're doing all that kind of stuff. You need to get out and make sure you're actually voting for those people. Easily, way more, spend way more time with this than you do any sort of national election, I think.
And more importantly, I think you have a lot more influence and a lot more say at the local level.
Like, you can literally go to the city council meeting. Like, it's not like you're not allowed to go to them.
You can accomplish a lot more.
Yeah. So, you can actually meet a city council representative. Just talking about cities, but even voting for the governor is far more important than the president, I think, because those people have a direct impact on your day to day life. Voting for a congressman or a congresswoman, that's not going to have as much of an effect as voting for who your mayor is, for example. Not even close. Voting for your mayor is probably the most important vote you can make, actually, in terms of like elected officials. But that and then city council, I'd think. So
yeah, potentially.
Yeah, but okay. So get out and vote.
Yeah. Should we move on to? Yes. So let me intro this. We are switching up the technology category because we tend to roll everything that's not like local news in the technology. So we have like contemporary stories, opinion pieces, tech news. It tends to be technology related.
Right.
So
even like when we're talking about like Google privacy issues or something like that, it's like tech, but we're really talking about like the philosophy behind it. It just so happens that technology companies are at the center of that.
Yeah. So we have this MISC section, which we haven't come up with a name for yet.
We promise we will within the next 15 years. So
yeah, that's a hard promise too. You can keep us to that 15.
If not, you can send us hate mail
or like send us and ask us for money.
Yeah.
Be like, you lied to me. I want money, and then we'll not do anything about it.
Okay. Yeah. So moving on to the
MISC news for now.
MISC news. So Trevor, this is something you're probably passionate about since you just broke your phone.
Yeah, so the IEEE had a couple of their members actually publish an opinion piece on Spectrum, which is their like the internal IEEE.
Yeah. And IEEE is
the Institute of Wow!
Oh, almost gotcha.
The Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. Okay. Jesus Christ! I was a like
party member.
Yeah, I was an IEEE party member. I was a member of the executive board for a couple of years at my university for the organization. Can't believe I got baited by that.
Gotcha.
Anyways, industrial engineering sucks. So
yeah, okay. Okay, go on before we get off topic.
Jesus.
Don't be mad because I got you good.
ISE, what's that? I suck at engineering?
No, it's super awesome engineer.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
You put an A in there. So ISEs can't spell.
Yeah, I'll take that over, and I'll be a great engineer. Okay.
So, anyways, the piece is basically arguing that, and we'll link it in the description, obviously. Yeah. But is arguing that we fundamentally, as citizens, should have a right to repair our electronics and any mechanical device. Like you should not be imposing arbitrary blocks on the ability to repair hardware.
Yeah.
So I guess my feelings on this are, I think that's a good idea to an extent. I don't think you should. So if something would cause, I guess, like undue cost to make it so that it's repairable later, I don't think that burden should be imposed on the company. Right. I don't think companies should be allowed to maliciously design something in such a way that it's harder to repair. But I don't think we should also be forcing easy to repair design is basically where I fall. Like, I don't think you shouldn't be able to build, like, let's say, I don't know, a Cadillac CTS.
Mm-hmm.
That car's really hard to work on.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be illegal to design a car that's hard to work on. You can still do it. Whereas something like, I don't know, Apple's home button, where if you buy a new home button to replace it, your phone gets bricked.
Yeah.
I think that's where I draw the line, somewhere between those two.
Yeah, it's so I philosophically agree with you in terms of electronics or products in general, especially even like the article mentions like tractors, for example, anything like that, or like I think they also mention like mixers, like like home, if you're like baking and stuff.
Oh yeah, John Deere is actually really bad about. I mean, they basically do the same thing as the Apple home button. They if you use aftermarket parts, they detect it, you just won't be able to run the tractor.
Yeah, I think that should pretty much be flat out illegal. The only concern I have with the article, the title is like "Fight for the Right to Repair." My only concern is when turning this into like a right.
Yeah, I don't think
law.
I don't think it's a rights issue. I don't think free internet is a rights issue.
Yeah, although I do, but that's a different topic. But I do think that there should be some sort of. I wouldn't be opposed to a law that says if you sell a product, you can't make it not work if somebody provides like an aftermarket part to it, because you own that product. Like if you buy a tractor and then it breaks because John Deere has they design it to fail. Now again, I don't think companies. So I think people get a lot of like there's been a lot of criticism with like smartphones for like, like there's a new OS update, like my phone's getting slow. That's been around since they've been doing updates and stuff. Now that it's not so much a concern for me because I don't think it's a real issue. But like you said, like with the Apple, it's like if you break the home button for some reason and then you go get it repaired and then they brick your phone, I don't agree with that. But I guess they at the same time it's a little confusing because they have like these authorized like fixers, I guess, but they don't necessarily have to be like Apple stores or authorized repairs. So like they don't actually necessarily have to be Apple stores. I think they have to just buy Apple products. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of gray. It's not like it's not like a clear cut issue like that California thing. But
right. I mean, the reason I don't know right where I would draw the line, but that's the reason I gave the example of like, okay, the CTS is something that while it's not ideal, it definitely shouldn't be illegal. Yeah. Whereas like if a home button is unauthorized, like your phone just doesn't get to work anymore. I think that's ridiculous. Just like with the Wii, like if the Wii detects that you have certain like software channels, and of course, I mean, nobody has Wii anymore, but like if the Wii detected that you have certain software channels that you would use for like home brewing and making your own apps, it would brick your Wii.
Yeah.
So I think like I draw the line between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to. So Apple, continuing on with like some of the things we were talking about with the article was, so like part of their justification for like more or less bricking the phone was they can't guarantee security, which I do think is legitimate because if you go to some unauthorized repair shop. Now, granted, if things work the way they should, if some unauthorized repair shop is doing like shady things, like somehow they take your phone, maybe they install some malicious software. I'm just hypothetical here, and then under the guise like they add this home button and maybe they capture your fingerprint and send it to a server. Who knows? I don't know, but there's some justification there, but like you can't. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to draw a line with that because I do sympathize with that viewpoint, but if at the same time they make repairing, let's say again going on with the home button, if they make the home button repair 4 times as expensive to do with an Apple authorized retailer versus like somebody else doing it, and they were actually doing it like legitimately no issues or something like that, like that's where I think that's kind of a big problem. But
right now, I mean, I guess I think it should fundamentally be more on the consumer in that case to be able to make their own decision. Like Apple shouldn't be able to just by fiat be like, you have to go to someone we specify as able to do this,
Yeah.
or your technology is just not going to work anymore.
Yeah,
Like-
I
like the-
think if they do that, then they should say it's like no longer under warranty. I wouldn't even be unhappy if they were like, yeah, you can't use iOS anymore, or if they were like, you can't use iCloud services or anything like that. I wouldn't be opposed to that because you can still use the phone. But what they're saying is like, if you want to use our services and you want to use it with our hardware, then you have to follow these guidelines. So
Well-
like that, I mean, there, again, I think there's a little bit of gray area with that too.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the like ridiculous warranty voiding policies either. I think it's kind of nonsense. Like, if you're going to, I don't know.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm not saying I completely agree with that either, but I can see it's not like illogical or irrational. It's kind of it's not like the worst viewpoint I've ever seen, right? I mean, that's why this issue is kind of fun to talk about, and it's difficult. So
I mean, coming down on that line though, I think is very, very like pro business and sort of anti-consumer.
well, I mean, in this case, nobody's stopping you from repairing your phone, and it still works. But like maybe they just don't let you use iCloud services.
But if-
or they say, well, we can't guarantee like the fingerprint sensor. Like so, and like iPhones right now. Well, actually, they're moving away from that, but with like I don't know, like the iPhone 7, I guess. So they have like the fingerprint sensor, right? And it's in the home button. So if they were like, well, you did this repair through an unauthorized retailer, so we can't guarantee that the fingerprint sensor will actually work right. I don't have a problem with them, like, let's say, disabling that feature. But then again, that's starting to put a burden on Apple to actually have to go through the work of like enabling or disabling a feature like that too. So
I mean, on the other hand, they're going through the work of making something not work that was already working, right? Like they're already engaging in malicious blocking of software, right?
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd call it malicious, but I don't know. And
Well-
I mean, this isn't about Apple. I would say the same thing with like
Well, yeah,
the
I
Pixel
mean,
or something
yeah.
too. But I guess Apple's like everybody complains about them the most. So
Well, I mean, it was just like an example I could think of like it being done.
yeah. So I mean, I largely, philosophically largely agree with you. I just think that there's room for nuance and there's room for debate on the issue too. So I mean, I can just see the point of view. Like, I mean, if you like, let's say you broke the phone, like you broke that home button within like the first year or something of like a warranty, right? Apple says like we have this security feature, but when you do something that's out of their control, they can no longer guarantee that feature is going to work, right?
Right. Well,
I mean that's where I kind of.
So I think there's a difference though. If they say, we no longer guarantee this, I think that's
Yeah.
different than them proactively being like, you can no longer use iCloud.
Yeah, but I mean, if let's say the fingerprint reader is part of iCloud security, then all of a sudden maybe their server get compromised or like your account gets compromised, and then you're calling them and freaking out, and it's like, well, yeah, this unauthorized. I mean, it can snowball into a bunch of problems.
So if like any user can compromise Apple servers, that's
I mean, I don't know
That's not a
Well, I don't think
user
I don't
problem.
think they can necessarily do that with like the fingerprint reader, but I mean, I could easily see somebody installing some software into like on the phone while they're doing this repair that captures your iCloud password, and then bam. I mean, that's easy to. I mean, once you have the password, I mean, that's especially if you're dumb and you don't have two-factor authentication on.
Right, but that's not like a server thing. What I'm saying is like if
Oh, I'm not
any-
saying they're like hacking the server, but I mean like the account's been compromised. Then what?
Well, I mean, I still think that should be a thing that's on the consumer side to prevent.
Yeah, but this is just one example out of many. Like I think we'll find far more agreement with like the John Deere tractor issue
Yeah,
or
I think-
something
well,
like that. I just think that there's a little bit of room for nuance with that. But
I do think in most cases you're right. It does end up being either black or white.
yeah. I mean, I guess I was largely my point. I can just see the point of view where it's like if you're trying to have this, for Apple, that's what Apple does, but even Android too. But like if you're trying to have this consistent interface, I don't know, like it's just not that particular case. I mean, that one's not too big of a deal, but something like buying a tractor and like you can't repair it because they're going to disable everything. Like that's a lot different because instead of it being like a $600 phone, it's like $100,000 plus tractor or $75,000 tractor or whatever it is. That's like saying you can't like get your oil changed by some other company, right? Or by like Jiffy Lube instead of taking it to the dealership or something like that. So yeah, interesting thing.
We're
and,
just gonna brick your engine.
Yeah, that's obviously crazy, but I think the electronics are interesting too because I mean, when as the devices get more and more thin, if you will, and like the components get more and more integrated, that's where that becomes a problem. Because even when I was growing up, like you could buy laptops where you could actually like swap out parts, or you could swap out the battery or whatever. But I have seen, I mean, so I'm bringing up Apple just because I know that they do this, but you can actually like bring your like if your battery starts to go bad, they charge like a flat fee to like replace your battery or whatever. So I think they're probably trying to help out like and be more consumer friendly, because at the end, I mean, it's bad for sales, right? If people don't like your product, or if they're annoyed by things like that. So, but good definitely a good article to think about.
All right, what else we have, Eric?
Okay, so I thought that this was pretty interesting. So I don't think we've talked about this before, but we both are pretty well versed in like credit card information, like credit cards in general, like what the good cards are, churning, and like all that kind of stuff. So Uber, who I am surprised is still in business right now, they actually announced that they're getting into the credit card business by partnering with Barclays and Visa, and they're gonna like release a Uber credit card. So it doesn't have any fee. That you get like 4% cash back using Uber services. This is a trend in the tech industry. I don't know. I mean, you know this too, I think. But like Amazon, for example, if you have Prime, you have the Amazon Prime account. It's like 5% cash back for the Amazon Prime card.
Yeah, but
stuff like that.
I think Amazon is no different than like Walmart or JCPenney, etc.
Well, yeah, I don't either. But what I'm seeing, I think we're going to continue to see at least is more companies doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Uber is at least like a new use case. Like you'd never have like a taxi credit card.
Yeah, because they can't get anything together. But one of the I guess things I think people should be careful about with, if you will. So, unlike I guess your bank, right? Like if you get a credit card through Chase or Bank of America, whoever, when you actually get like the credit card, like I'm pretty sure that they're not giving out your purchase information to third parties. Or they're not using your purchase information to... I mean, they might be using it for internal products, but I don't think they're handing it to, like, Google, for example. On the other hand, I have absolutely zero confidence that when I'm using this Uber card, that they are not selling that data to some third party. No matter, even if they say they don't. I absolutely have no confidence whatsoever that they're not doing that. But
I don't trust anyone ever.
Yeah.
I would advise everyone else to do the same. Just assume if you buy something on plastic that someone somewhere is looking to exploit it to make another buck.
Yeah, I mean that's probably true. I feel like the financial industry is kind of regulated in that aspect. I don't know.
Well, maybe, but so I mean,
but maybe Visa's not, and maybe I don't know.
I mean, so I think regardless though, you need to be able to, or at least you just need to be aware of the fact that that's a potential risk in your life.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's kind of interesting. I think you're going to see an Airbnb credit card. I think Lyft's going to come out with one. I mean, any other service like app. I'm surprised Google doesn't even have one right now. So Apple's coming out with Apple Pay Cash.
Well, so here's the thing. For there to be a credit card, it has to be a thing that lots of people are using. Like lots of people are not paying for Google services. Like
like the Google Play Store. Like, hey, all purchases 3% off on the Google Play Store if you use the Google Play card. I could easily see them doing that.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like most people don't buy apps.
And now that they're partnering with, well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people have to. But still, there's also like the music and all this stuff that goes into it. But Google's also partnering with Walmart for, whatever. So I could easily see them doing like a Google credit card with Walmart, or even if they're doing a Walmart credit card and partnering with Google to get, basically give people data or whatever. So, frankly, I guess what I'm just saying is don't be surprised to see more of these specialty credit cards come out.
All right. What's next?
Yeah. Okay. So, something that's got me pretty riled up because it's so hypocritical that it just drives me crazy. So New Zealand announced that they are introducing a ban on foreign buyers purchasing existing properties. So anything that's already currently in existence in New Zealand, they are banning the purchase of. The idea is they want to like, stop people from parking money in investment properties or whatever, and not actually live there. And then of course when they do that, they raises the price for the people that actually live there. So cities in like Canada, like Vancouver is a classic example of this, or Sydney too actually, but foreign buyers coming in, buying property, and then spend a boatload of money, and then nobody else can afford to live there, blah blah blah. So Trevor, what drives me crazy about this is because the countries that are doing this are the exact same countries that are criticizing U.S. immigration policies and saying, "Oh, it's just like the Pope," and he's like this guy living in a walled city criticizing the U.S. for like trying to keep out immigrants, particularly from Latin America. And it's like, dude, you live in a walled city, and these same people are being hypocritical about that.
It's worth noting that a country like it might be the same country, but it's probably not the same people. Like the people, screaming for everyone to take in every possible refugee are not the same people who are, attempting to exploit a mismatch in a business market, right? Those tend to not be the same people.
Sure, but it's even their even politicians in a place like New Zealand, they're like criticizing U.S. immigration policy, and it's like, well, I mean, you're basically doing like what they're doing is even worse. You're saying, well, you're a foreign person, so you can't buy property here. Like, I mean, I just don't understand how that fits in with their like worldview narrative of immigration everywhere is always good, and we need more people in every country. So,
I mean, I don't know. I tend to think that that in cases like this, you're probably just seeing the opposite ends of the political spectrum's voice hit internationally, right? Because I mean, you could argue that the U.S. has got like the most crazy fucking eco-terrorist organizations on the planet, and you'd be right. And you could also argue that the U.S. is also, the environmental record is absolutely horrific, and we have some of the worst polluters on the planet, like headquartered here.
Yeah.
How can that be? How can the U.S. have both things?
Well, it's because we have inconsistent policy, but that's fine. Like, because we have people criticizing that here. But what I don't like is when it's different when it's like the government, so the U.S. government doesn't have an inconsistent policy with it. Like the U.S. government just has whatever its policy is. So New Zealand saying no more foreign buyers. Oh, by the way, U.S., how dare you not take in more immigrants? Like that's what I have a problem with. Like,
well, so I mean. I think it's the way I see it is
because what they're also saying is we don't want more people coming to New Zealand. Like that's what they're also saying with this. That's the implicit.
But I'm sure there's a lot of people in New Zealand who definitely are like pro take in more refugees.
Yeah, sure.
And also the two issues aren't equivalent, right? You could definitely be.
They're not equivalent, but they're definitely strongly correlated.
I could definitely see a lot of middle class people in New Zealand saying. We should definitely take in refugees and help them.
So I would think they'd be saying the opposite.
But we don't want foreign investors like if you don't own a house, right? They're going to say, we don't want foreign investors driving up the housing prices of like Christchurch.
Well, I mean, that's like a nonsense sentiment because frankly, the more people you have, the higher the prices are going to be. I mean, that's a simple fact. So
refugees aren't competing with the middle class for housing.
They might not be competing with refugees for middle class housing, but more people means less available housing, which means higher prices. I mean, that's just like, I mean, that's how that works. When you have like space is limited. Like they can't build more in New Zealand. I mean, they could build more housing, but then okay, does everybody want to live in India where you're like crammed ass to ball, and like have people hanging off the side of the train like trying to get 3 hours to work each way every morning?
That doesn't affect the middle class because they don't have to live in that garbage housing.
Yeah, but it also affects the lower class New Zealanders.
What
like,
I'm saying is like, if you're looking at first of all,
but I don't think even middle class people I don't want more people in the United States, and like I can afford to buy a place.
In almost no country do the lower classes really get a voice. So you can like just keep in mind that you've never heard the lower class opinion of people from New Zealand because that just doesn't make the news.
Well, I mean, they're more.
Well, that never happens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's
so. I think any opinion you see internationally, you have to keep in mind this is coming from either the political class or it's like the upper middle class that they're attempting to appease, because that's always the most important voter demographic.
Yeah, so then that's where I go back and I say that they're a bunch of hypocrites, and I don't like seeing it, because those are the exact same people who are criticizing U.S. immigration policy. It's the political class in New Zealand. It's the upper middle class, the top whatever percent New Zealanders. Like, those are the exact same people criticizing U.S. immigration policy.
Well, that's fine, but I think you might be surprised to find out that they're in favor of bringing more refugees to New Zealand.
But then they wouldn't have the same. It's just it doesn't matter. It's still inconsistent.
Well,
like, yeah, maybe because if you bring in more refugees, no matter what, you have a limited amount of space. It will drive up housing price. I mean, that's just a fact. Like, that's how the world works. You can't, if you have more people in an area, it's going to cost more to live there.
Right, but the thing is, that doesn't actually end up hitting their bubble. It doesn't. Like, bringing more poor people into an area like Columbus, right? When Columbus brought in took in a lot of Somali refugees back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet we could look up historical data, and you don't see like Westerville houses really go up and due to that. I bet you compare it to a city where that doesn't happen. I bet Westerville housing doesn't go up much.
I mean, even if it doesn't, I don't really. It's hard to compare because you have like an island and a country versus like a city. I don't know if you can properly compare the two.
It's one of the most urban. Like 80% of the population lives in the Christchurch suburbs, or like in what's considered like metropolitan.
Yeah.
Like 80% of New Zealand's population is just in like that little area.
There or like Auckland. I think you're thinking of Auckland.
Oh, it might be Auckland.
Because Auckland's certainly the biggest city. I mean, Christchurch is big too, but
well, I just know that there's like one metropolitan area that holds 80% of the population.
Well, if that's true, then it's definitely Auckland. But
okay,
it's still, I mean, I don't know. I just don't like when I just feel like it's like, I mean, so what are some other countries that have been criticizing U.S. immigration? Probably like France,
Germany.
Right?
I think is the biggest one.
Okay, so if Germany did the same thing, I would be saying the exact same thing. Like, you guys are sitting here, it's like people. It's just to me, it's just preaching from your like high horse, thinking like, oh, we're better than you, but oh, by the way, we're gonna like ban foreign buyers from buying property here. Like, that means nobody, like not even not even a poor person, not even somebody who, like let's say you move to New Zealand, like you're a refugee or something. Does this mean that if you're a refugee and then like maybe you start a business and you get rich that you can't buy a house? Like I mean, I guess maybe you could become a citizen, but I don't know.
So okay, would you see it as not hypocritical if like they live there, if like they were a resident and then they bought a house?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Because I think what
I'm hoping. So actually, what's funny is I actually agree with them doing this. I just don't like them doing it and then like criticizing the U.S. That's my only problem with it. Actually, I think it's like a genius move, and I think every country should do it, or every country in the West should do it.
Right, and I mean, I do think that's what's happening. I think the people you see actually criticizing the U.S. Are doing it specifically for the migrant issue.
Yeah, that's what I don't like, because I think it's stupid.
Well, I mean, I don't think the two issues are the same. Is the only thing.
I don't think exactly the same, but I still think they're related. But anyway, I think the U.S. should do this. I think Canada, they're crazy not to.
It makes the middle class feel good to bring in refugees, Eric, and they don't affect their lives.
I don't understand. Like, I don't understand that. I don't feel like that's sentiment in the U.S. at all.
Really?
I mean, who here in Ohio that's middle class? It's like, yeah, we need more refugees. Maybe on the coast, but
I think it's different for other countries.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
I think there's a very, very strong anti-immigration sentiment in the U.S. that doesn't exist other places, and so they're like, this area is war-torn, so we should help them. Whether you agree with that or not, I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, I'd be interesting to see other people's opinions on that, because like I don't have a problem with people immigrating to the United States. Like, I don't think that's an issue, but at the same time, I don't want like 200 million more people here. I mean, I guess it'll be good for me because like I can buy a house or something, and then I can just make other people pay me rent and be like my serfs or whatever. But I just don't I don't think that's a sustainable policy. So, and the same thing with like, I mean, Canada has a lot more land, right? Like, that could be developed, but even then, I don't.
Well,
but I
could be developed.
Yeah, but even then, I don't think they should. I think they should have less people. I think we need less people on the planet, because I don't want the United States ending up like China or India, or just like jam packed full of people, and it just sucks all the time.
Well, you heard him, people. Eric wants your opinion, so please email either Trevor at columbusthisweek.com or Eric at columbusthisweek.com and tell us how you feel.
Yeah. And then I will probably reply with fury and vengeance. Anyway, so moving on to another topic of outrage. So the Republicans, which does not include Donald Trump, at least if the tweets can be believed, so they want a big budget cut, which is fine. It's not like on its face isn't unreasonable. I don't like that we have a huge national deficit while countries like Germany make money. But one of the big problems I have with this is one of their plans is to reduce the 401k benefits. Like, are you guys serious? I mean, like, it's so unbelievably like stupid. I just can't even. Trevor.
So what does reduce mean?
So they are talking about getting rid of, let's see, I think, imposing a cap of $2,400 a year on tax-deferred contributions from the current $18,000 a year. So right now, if you contribute your 401k, up to $18,000 of that is like tax-deferred.
Yeah, so this is basically so let's be clear, though, okay? More than half the country doesn't have retirement savings.
Sure.
At all. Or if they do, the retirement savings are less than their debt.
Yeah.
So this is incredibly targeted at sort of extracting money from the
few people who have money.
Well, the upper middle class of the U.S. So this isn't going to affect like the top 2% or whatever, and it's also not going to affect probably the bottom 60%.
Right.
So
I'd even say it probably wouldn't affect the top 80%.
Okay.
Or bottom 80%.
All right.
Maybe.
So not in a huge amount, anyways. So this is really trying to hit, I guess, like that 18 to 30% of people in the middle.
Right. Which is the worst possible group to target, because they're the actual people who have disposable income, who can actually save for retirement instead of having to rely on government services or something when it's time to retire, and being stuck on Social Security and Medicaid, and then like that's it. It's the worst possible demographic to target.
Yeah. I think this is such a like out of left field move for the Republicans too, right? Because one, this hits like their historical traditional base.
Yeah.
Two, I mean, because like let's be honest, the majority of that is a very Republican voting sort of percentage.
Yeah, it is.
And then two, the idea of forcing people to rely on government aid at retirement,
which they want to cut still. Like the Republicans also want to cut benefits. So it just does. But you don't want people to save for money for retirement, but then you also don't want to provide services. So what you're saying is screw you to the American people.
Right, but what I'm saying more is that by doing this, they're basically they're requiring more people to rely on Medicare and Social Security.
Yeah,
which is like which is nonsense. Imagine
absolute nonsense. It's almost as nonsense as the HIV thing.
Like if you wanted to run against one of these congressional Republicans right now, like as a Republican even, all you would have to do is like state during primary state that like this person wants you to have to rely on the government to provide you money and wants to take away your ability to save for yourself.
Yeah.
They want you to be reliant on the government tit.
Yeah.
Like that the optics of this are just awful.
Yeah, I can't possibly fathom why they're doing that. Like why they're even proposing this. So Trump actually the president actually came out and said there will be no, like big capital letters, change to your 401k. This has always been a great and popular middle class tax break that works and it stays. I mean, I completely agree with him saying that. I don't know, if that's like fake news, like Trump doublespeak or whatever, but like it's just so bizarre.
Well,
like, it's literally screwing the American people.
I almost have to wonder if this is like a staged thing to like help Trump's popularity, because he comes out as like being such the good guy in this, and the Democrats really can't they're not in a position where it's a good idea for them to push back against this heavily. Yeah. Because it puts them in a position, it puts them in a political position they don't want to be in, where they're defending 401ks. Because it doesn't, that's not like their big base. So really the only person who benefits from this little maneuver is Trump.
Yeah.
So you really have to wonder, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of conspiratorial, but you got to wonder why this kind of alignment would happen.
Yeah. So let's say like, okay, so if you wanted to maximize like the tax breaks that you would get more or less from like saving for retirement, so you have up to $18,000 a year in 401k, which is very unreachable for most Americans anyway. And then you have the $5,500 for the Roth or traditional IRA. So you're like what, $23,500 I think is like how much you can save without, with like tax benefits, if you will. So if they cut the 401k down to $2,400, you're looking at like a reduction down to like 1/4 of what it was. It's just, it just gets me so mad because it's just so anti-American. It's un-American to do something like this. Like if you have a problem raising revenue, then reduce government, inefficiencies and tax companies and rich people. Like that's the way it should work. Like you don't tax middle class and poor people who can't even afford to save anyway. You don't tax all them and then just say, oh, well, screw you. Like, I guess, this is just a land for other Americans, like the rich Americans. It just makes me so mad that, it just makes me so mad, Trevor. I don't even know. Well, let's move on to something else.
All right. What else we got?
Okay. So in related news that makes me mad. No, I'm just kidding. Well, not this story, but the next one. So Trevor, agree or disagree? And
disagree.
This could be Columbus centric or it could be U.S. centric.
Wait, no, I changed my mind. Agree.
Okay.
Wait, no, disagree.
Okay. If you drive less than 10,000 miles a year, you probably should not own a car.
Depends on the circumstance.
Okay, that's what I say too. But so we have a good article here from City Lab that talks about. So they break down some of the costs associated with owning a car, whether it's insurance, license, registration, taxes, depreciation, financing the car, maintenance, fuel costs, parking costs, well, they put in lost productivity, but I don't agree with that number. So they said annually. Okay, so they said based on driving so this was the actual study, I guess, was done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics and AAA. They said that like an average American with one car that owns one car spends approximately $16,000 a year, like in costs to maintain like that car. I don't think they included like road infrastructure costs either, but part of that $16,000 cost was this like lost productivity cost because of like commuting, and they said that was $6,000. So I say we actually remove that because no matter what you're commuting, so I don't think that's fair to place that just on car ownership. So around $10,000 a year for owning a car.
I would not only object to that $6,000, I would in fact reverse it because.
Oh no, definitely not that. But go ahead.
So like if you're riding the bus and then walking or whatever, your trip will almost always take longer. And then with buses, there's also the impact of you have to align to the bus's schedule, and then that adds additional time because you end up waiting, like 5 or 10 minutes or whatever. And so like you're just constantly being hit on time. And depending on how much you value your time, right? Because you should place some dollar amount on the time you spend.
So let me real quick. They said for the lost productivity, they measured it 5 hours per week. So this is over a year, right? 5 hours per week at the at average U.S. wage of $26 an hour, which I don't know where they're getting that average from because I do not think the average wage is $26 an hour.
Yeah, that seems too high.
But even so, they're saying 5 hours a week. But even here in Columbus, I'm pretty sure I drive more than 5 hours a week. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm probably kind of close to that, but
what I'm saying is, your alternative is going to take longer.
Well, yeah, but I think it depends on where you're living too. Versus, like, what if instead of spending all this money on roads, like I always complain about, they actually spend it on like actual good public transportation. Like, what does it look like in Amsterdam?
Well, here's
right. Like, are they spending 5 hours a week commuting?
Well, the thing is, it's like this is an as-is scenario. So
Yeah.
if you're going to look at the world as is for you personally, as a human being, the way things currently exist, you're saving a lot of time driving a car.
I don't disagree with that now. But
so what I'm saying is that number really should be in the negatives.
So I still disagree with that because I think even driving, like even that driving amount is still, it's still a cost. I just don't look at it as like against a car thing. Like maybe it's better if you're, because if, so right now if I wanted to drive to work, it'd take me like an hour to get the bus or whatever, versus it's 20, like let's just say one way. It'd be like an hour to get to work and then 20 minutes by car. So obviously that's like that's like a plus for the car because it's more convenient, but there's still, I mean, it's still it's still a cost. It's still a commuting cost.
Well, I mean, the alternative, at least for me, to or I mean, for a lot of people, like if you're comparing car versus no car, for me, you're comparing
Right.
job versus no job.
Well, what I'm trying to say here isn't one or the other. What I'm saying is that in a city like Columbus, it's cheaper, but there's still a cost. So the cost to ride the bus in terms of time, as they're measuring it here, is more expensive than the car. But it's still a cost to take. It's still like a cost to take the car. Like you could even count walking. Like if you walk 20 minutes to work, you could even count that as a cost. But
Right, and I do.
yeah.
My point, I guess, is just that like
But then you also have to add in. I mean, I don't know how to compare it to the bus. We also have to add in like what's the $10,000, average cost of gas being $2.32 a gallon or something. What's the average cost of that too?
well, it doesn't. I mean, to me, it just doesn't seem like they're offering an alternative that allows their
Yeah.
because I don't think their 10,000 miles makes sense in a vacuum is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because nobody lives in a vacuum. You can't
Right.
you can't just like not go to work.
So, in the article goes on, and basically what they argue. So they talk about like autonomous cars. I'm not very pro autonomous cars, other than because I don't think they're going to make the problem any better, really. But so one of the other things they talked about is like versus just ride sharing. So like Uber Pool or something like that. As that that's one of the alternatives they propose, and then they actually like talk about the cost of that. So I don't know if it makes sense for Columbus, but I don't know. I thought it was a pretty interesting article that we would argue about. So
All right. Well, what do we got next?
okay, so the last story, to continue with the theme of being riled up, is the Twitter story, also known as our feature for the day, bum ba da dum, or whatever our music is for that. So Trevor, the our feature we want to talk about. So going on with this, so I guess to set things up, Twitter this week came out and said that they are banning Russian Times and I think another news agency. I think it was Sputnik, but maybe something else.
One of them commie.
Yeah, one of those other
propaganda mills.
communist propaganda mills. So Twitter came out and said that they are banning them from the Twitter platform because of their Twitter. They're influencing the U.S. election. So in a fun turn of events, Russian Times turned around and published PowerPoints that Twitter basically used to pitch them to use. So Twitter pitched to Russian Times more or less, hey, look how you can influence the U.S. election and like make money off using our platform. Like some of this, like one of the sizes, political users are active. Plus 71% will follow presidential candidates' handle on Twitter. 47% would tweet their questions, opinions, and opinions related to the presidential election, et cetera, et cetera. And then they talk about the conversion levels and all this stuff. So Russian Times just was like, oh, hey, well, here's the pitch deck that Twitter gave us.
Yeah, and we'll link that to you in the show notes. It's I mean, it's an interesting deck to look at just because you get to see like some inside baseball on what Twitter's selling.
Yeah, and you can also notice how it is conspicuously absent from Western media. So like The Guardian, who I think broke this story,
and
they
CNN.
Yeah, they. So I remember. So I saw this like the second it came out, and then I went to the Guardian's website, and they had they had the like pitch deck up. Then they took it. They've taken it down since then, and then so we have a link to them, and then the Russian Times, who of course still has the deck up.
Yeah,
So.
we'll link all of that below. And yeah, so I mean I think that what actually probably happened is Twitter probably threatened lawsuits because I imagine Twitter's not happy over this whole scenario. And that's,
I mean,
that's
I
what
don't
you,
know.
that's what you do when you're not happy.
Oh, lawsuits to like the Western media
Yeah.
companies.
Be like,
Yeah.
take it down. I mean, that's a very common thing.
Yeah, that's true. So, so here, this might be a controversial opinion. I don't actually have a problem with companies trying to buy influence or like.
You mean sell influence?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't have a problem with companies trying to sell influence, and I don't have a problem with countries or companies, media outlets, whoever, attempting to buy influence, whether it's Russia or otherwise, because to be frank, I mean, the U.S. does it too. I mean, it's not like U.S., the CIA or somebody isn't, implanting or, buying news stories and all this kind of stuff. It's a thing that happens. And I think what's important is to recognize that it happens. But the problem I have with it is I feel like Twitter is selling out American people for this.
Yeah, let's be honest here in this whole fucking scenario.
Twitter's the bad guy.
Well, Twitter
me.
got blown the fuck out.
Yeah. Yes, they did get blown out.
Twitter decided to be, Twitter decided to, take a virtue signaling kind of stance against Russia today. Like you can't
I don't know what they were thinking.
You can't like try to out like socially maneuver like Russian state news. Are you stupid?
Yeah.
Like if they have dirt on you, and they probably have dirt on you,
Right.
you should be very, very careful. Like, I mean, I'm not talking about who's right or wrong. I'm just talking like strategy.
Yeah.
Don't try to take on Russian media like head on.
Yeah. It was seems like a pretty poor decision to me, especially when they know that. So I mean, they did a wrong thing as far as I'm concerned. Like Twitter did the wrong thing by pretending that they're above, like they're at this big social virtue, like, hey, like we're the good guys, and like, pro Hillary, like whatever. So they had this like big stance, virtue signaling, all this stuff, and then, but with their other hand behind their back, they're basically selling out the American people to this Russian company. I don't care if you do it and you're upfront about it, because then I know. But to me, it's really deceptive, and screw Twitter for that. It's just BS.
What a surprise. I mean, like, here's the thing. There's a lot of other companies that I'm sure, made explicit deals to try, like with organizations like Russia Today. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to find out if Facebook did it or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely sure Facebook did it, too. There's no question in my mind that they did. It's just a matter of time of when it's going to come out.
The only thing is, don't try to call them on it, because they'll make you look like an idiot. Like, just
Yeah.
think about, someone has dirt on you, and you expect they're going to be professional enough to not like
even though when all of a sudden Twitter's just like, oh hey, like we're just offboarding all accounts owned by Russia Today, and Sputnik was the other one, and then like we're donating the earnings, like look at ours, including to support, so they're donating the money to support external. This was from Jack Dorsey, the CEO. Although I really do like Square. I don't know, so I'm starting to have a really negative opinion of Jack Dorsey. But
oh yeah, like at Jack.
Yeah,
I mean he's probably like the most hated person on Twitter. He's like the Ellen Powell of.
Yeah. So he said, we're donating all projected earnings to support external research into the use of Twitter in elections, which is good. But what I thought was funny was including use of malicious, automated, and misinformation. So I don't know, Twitter. Why don't you label bots? Maybe that'll hurt your bottom line. That's why. Do it. And misinformation. You mean like when you're selling out the American people to Russia Today? Just
to give a little more context on what Eric means with bots, it's there. So there have been a number of reports done at this point on how badly it would hurt Twitter's bottom line to actually remove those bots.
Right.
Because Twitter's whole business model revolves around sort of people being engaged with other people who are high status in particular.
Right.
And status is mostly determined by follower count on Twitter's. It's also partially determined by engagement, but largely it's determined by follower count. Like those are the two I guess equivalents to SEO in Twitter land.
Yeah, SEO being search engine optimization for our non-tech people.
And so, removing bots would kill Twitter, and that's why. It wouldn't kill Twitter, but would definitely hurt the. I mean, they would have to downsize.
Yeah, shareholders wouldn't be happy. I think is the story there. But yeah, so I don't have a problem with. So I mean, the American the U.S. does this all the time. Like we buy influence in one form or another.
Are you telling me the CIA would stoop so low as to influence another country?
Not even the CIA. I mean, the State Department, whoever. Like, there's a lot of American propaganda out there, so that's fine. So, but I don't have a problem with like Russia, state media, or whatever they are. I'm sure they are, but I don't have a problem with them trying to buy influence in the U.S. election to get somebody that they want elected into office, whether that's Trump or somebody else. This isn't about that. So I don't have a problem with it, but what I have a problem with is Twitter virtue signaling and then behind the back saying because I mean they're basically selling influence to other countries. So that's what I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with Russia trying to buy that influence. I have a problem, and I don't even have a problem with somebody selling it to them. I have a problem with somebody doing it behind my back.
It's really annoying that corporations have determined that this is like the like normal business policy anymore.
Yeah.
Is to like behave like a, terrible corporation like they were before.
And then say, "Oh, well, we're the good guys."
But what they do is they try to fluff themselves up and make themselves look nice.
Yeah.
I mean, at the very least, Enron isn't Enron wasn't getting involved in politics and bragging about how, what good people they were and how, people on side most of their customer base disagrees with are evil. Because that's basically what you see from a lot of Silicon Valley companies, I think.
Okay. Yeah, there's the whole Google, don't be evil. Meanwhile, let me sell out the American people to Russia. That'll be great. It'll be great for our business.
I mean, it makes money, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's all that matters, right?
All right. Do we have anything else to say on this?
No, this has been a pretty mega episode, but we had a lot of good stuff that happened this week. So,
yeah. Did we even talk about Catalonia?
No, we just wanted to mention because nothing's really happened.
Yeah,
yet,
just
briefly. The Independence Declaration happened, but the shots haven't been fired or anything. So,
all right. Oh yeah, we did talk about it briefly. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up then, Eric.
Cool. All right.
So this has been Columbus This Week. We hope you join us next week and have a good week.